You ready?
I don't think any of us is ready.
Is the computer ready?
Alright.
Are we good? Before I spin myself up again mentally.
I don't know. Are we good?
Tech guy.
I'm really not.
That's the sad part. You're the tech guy.
Okay.
Are we good?
I suppose we are. Hello everyone and welcome to the Academic Alehouse. Our first live stream, I guess. I'm not sure how well this will work.
Not
also, I sound like death.
It's because you look like death. Because to my soul, you are death.
I'm your host, Clayton. I got sick this week, so that's why I sound like death. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host and mutual torture demon, I'm pretty sure. Ryan.
Yep, I'm here to make sure that every waking moment of his being sick is compounded and made worse. For your enjoyment and my own. Die, you son of a bitch.
I'm already in hell. What the hell is that going to do to me?
It'd be amusing for me.
Yeah, but you're a demon.
True.
Alright. What are you drinking?
I am glad you asked. In the spirit of Oktoberfest, I, once again, have a Spaten Brau for Oktoberfest. It is their Oktoberfest beer, straight from Bavaria, one of the 6 original Oktoberfest beers. I will be enjoying a large quantity of it for our broadcast and doing my usual thing. How about you, good sir?
I didn't want to drink anything too much this week, so I
Gavel ready?
backed off the lager.
Uh-huh.
I'm drinking Smirnoff Ice.
I'm sorry, what are you drinking?
Smirnoff. The vodka. Straight from the bottle.
Really? Because it says you're drinking basically a bottled appletini.
It's delicious and I'm gay. Fuck you.
You're gay. You're a gay man's man. The gays are looking at you going, oh, honey. You are being a gay stereotype right now. Drinking a green appletini.
Bitch, we can't all escape. We can't escape everything.
I'm just disappointed in you. I'm so disappointed I dropped the gavel.
Yeah.
We've made such headway. Is this how your therapist feels? We made progress, and then here we are back at square one.
I don't have a therapist. You know this. I'm poor.
You definitely need one. You hang out with me.
Good Lord, yes.
All right.
But all right. So, let's go within the news. And there's not going to be a graphic this week because I can't do editing on live stream, at least as far as I'm aware. I'm not techie.
How are you in charge?
You put me in charge.
It's because this is your thing. I'm just the thing here to make it harder.
Fine. But anything interesting to report?
Well, that ship that flipped over in Georgia was in fact beached by the pilot captain, which stopped the harbor from being shut down, causing major economic strain. It's still flipped over in the harbor, but it's not doing anything. Once again, only Hyundais were lost. The UAW strike continues. Again, nobody's really noticed, but apparently they're very close to reaching a deal, and I still could give less of a shit. What else is in the news? Well, are we going to cover the main thing in the news?
I mean, there's a couple things that came across my desk this week that I found interesting.
Okay. Can we talk about the fact that Trump has made the left defend Nickelback?
Yes, it was quite glorious. And honestly, I'm not a fan. But I mean, Nickelback gets way too much shit.
Not anymore. They're siding with the leftists.
Fair enough. Okay, I'll give you that.
Because the madman that is our president showed a video clip of Joe Biden going, I had no interaction with my son and his business dealings with the Ukraine. And Trump uploaded that meme we all know of the guy from Nickelback going, look at this photograph with Biden, his son, and 2 Ukrainian gas executives. This is our president.
Yep.
I never know how to feel about that because it's something I would do. Die. Damn it. Okay. So it's something I would do.
I'm doing my best impression of Alex Morgan. Or Arthur Morgan from Red Dead.
Yeah, way to spoil that. Or you're doing your best Hillary impression.
Way to spoil that.
Yeah.
In other news,
I'm sure I hear a drone now.
regarding the presidential office,
oh God,
Biden is no longer the Democratic frontrunner.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Who's winning now?
With the Ukraine issue, and his continued failing health, Warren has begun to lead in the early.
For those who have been faithful listeners to us, can side with me when I say, "Told you." Called that shit.
I mean, why don't you do Razor Fist and just dance around in the
Because I'm doing the monkey right now, and our viewers can't see it, but you can. I'm doing the monkey, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I will say this. I never disagreed with you. I acknowledged Warren was a possibility.
But you never thought it was an actual possibility.
I believed it was a possibility once Joe's mental state started to go.
Yeah, but from the beginning, because she's Hillary Light, and they're legitimately running 2016 again, except this time, they took Bernie out early.
Oh yeah, he had a heart. Right. On Monday, he went into the on Monday, I think. Yeah, I think it was Monday.
Probably.
Monday, he went into the hospital with some chest pain.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wednesday or Thursday, they let him go and told him, "Hey, you had a heart attack. You can't campaign anymore." So Bernie's out.
And the dart that was found in his neck was definitely lost as evidence.
So Bernie Sanders is out.
Ooh.
Elizabeth Warren is the front runner.
Oh, God. You know, I was never hoping it would come true.
Which means Pete Buttigieg is now in a cool third place.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala Harris takes second, despite the fact that she's no longer viable. And the third debate stage will have Tulsi Gabbard on it, which makes it all the more interesting. Also, okay. Klobuchar is going to get knocked out somewhere in between.
Who the fuck is that?
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm waiting for the moment Yang gets knocked out, because I think that'll be hilarious.
I'm pulling for him. Why? Because I'm actually less racist than the left.
He's polling at less than 1%.
So? Since when does that matter?
He's not a viable candidate.
None of them are viable candidates.
Biden was viable.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
He was not viable.
He
still thinks he's vice president and probably writes letters to the Kaiser. He's become Mr. Burns from The Simpsons.
Mr. Burns was never that mentally unstable. He was just rich.
He wasn't French.
Rich.
Oh. I was to say, now that's just insulting Mr. Burns.
Indeed.
Biden's rich. I'm just saying, crazy old man who tries to send letters to dead aristocrats and who doesn't know where he is at the current moment. Joe Biden, Mr. Burns. We should make a poll for that. So, Tulsi Gabbard's going to be on the stage showing what an actual intelligent candidate looks like.
He released the transcript. It was a nothing burger.
But they're locked in now.
There's a lot to get into in there.
There's really not. That's the problem.
I mean, why Pelosi announced impeachment?
I think she got bamboozled.
Yeah. Well, there's that possibility, but there's also the possibility that she's been pressured from both sides of her party. You had the political candidates, you had her frontrunners, her puppets, so to speak.
Sure.
Because, let's be real, if there's a Democrat in office, while Pelosi is also in office, Pelosi is in charge of that Democrat in the president's office.
Can you blame them if you had been waiting all week to make that joke?
Shame. Shame on you.
I have none, and everyone in this room and listening to us knows this.
This is fair.
We had weekend at Hillary's. Now we've had the legit weekend at Bernie's. Who's going to be next with a health issue? Personally, I'm hoping Joe rips his tux off on stage, declares to be Monkey Man, and rides off into the sunset. And if he does, he has my vote. Because, quite frankly, I'm all for letting a crazy person into the office. How much crazier could it get? I want to find out.
Very true. All right,
Give him the nuclear football.
One other thing. It was about like a certain movie that came out this week.
Oh God, do we have to?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's interesting.
But we haven't seen it.
Fair
because
enough.
we're straight white, and if we go into the theater, we might be shot.
I doubt that.
We do. True. We won't be shot because... Well, here's the problem. The undercover agents might shoot us, so I feel the need to practice my Second Amendment's rights, which might make the agents more likely to shoot us. It's a deadly paradox that I can only think should be resolved by bringing a Sherman tank to the movie theater. It's the Roosevelt principle.
We could go to a drive-in.
I mean, I'm down for that, but again, which car are we going to take? The van? The van of justice, might I say. Are we two straight white people? Well, one of us straight, but the other one passively straight. White people are going to roll up to the drive-in in a van.
The van is marked, number one.
No, it's not. Not since we did that thing where we have to run from the drone.
Fine, whatever. But yes, Joker came out this week, and Hollywood spent, I think, the last 2 weeks basically bashing the hell out of this movie.
Apparently, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
Must be.
From what I've heard, it's pretty good. But it's sort of...
Can anyone follow Heath Ledger's Joker, though? I'm not saying that this is a bad movie. I'm just saying that's a tough act to follow. I've seen that, and it's good.
I think Joaquin Phoenix probably followed pretty well, from what I've heard.
Because I'm not even a fan of DC movies. I have not seen one that spoke to me. My wife was a fangirl over Wonder Woman. I didn't even see that. Don't get me started on those uniforms for the Germans.
Why were they not Hugo Boss?
Well, first of all, that was World War II, you plebeian. But second of all, the Iron Cross was the size of a Flava Flav watch. Yes, if you watch that movie, the dude's wearing an Iron Cross that's like it's the size of your heart.
Why?
I don't know, but if you'd like to see what a real Iron Cross looks like, if you look across the room, because yes, I have one casualty, it's quite small. Yes, it bothered me.
It was also likely only worn ceremonially.
Depends on, But a lot of people wore them into combat because, one, they might stop a bullet, but two, if you're going to go down with your medals.
Fair enough.
But the point is, the costumes are my gripe with Wonder Woman. The point is, I've never really seen a DC movie that blew me away. And to give it a comparison, I was more impressed with Thor Ragnarok, not the best Marvel movie, than I was with any DC movie I've ever seen. With the exception of Heath Ledger's Joker, very compelling character.
Fair enough.
And at the risk of sounding insolently, which I meet none of the other qualifications of, good character. Said some things that low-key made some sense. I mean, he did.
Hollywood's, the media's fear of the incel.
The media is afraid of everything that's white.
Yeah,
basically.
And
if it doesn't suit the narrative, some things that are black.
Mm-hmm.
They're afraid of a bunch of... I have friends who are... Incels? I have friends who are those. You want to know how you break them? Put anime on a large screen in their proximity. It will draw them like that guy with the flute and the rats. Whose name? Peter Piper? Peter Piper?
No.
No?
The Pied Piper.
The Pied Piper, that's one. Anime waifu. Boom, projector on a wall, away they go. Boom, I've just stopped the incel assault. I'm pretty sure that's what they did at Area 51. Come on. Come on.
Area 51
Damn it.
was, from what I hear, just basically a big party.
I'm really glad I didn't have to be one of the people guarding the base during that.
They had to be oh God.
Well, imagine you join the military. You join the military to be a badass. You get put in security forces, which is like the armiest job in the Air Force for the most part. There are a couple more. But that's an Air Force base. Those are Air Force people. Not only do your dumb ass get stuck in the middle of a Nevada desert, you can't talk about it. You have to live on base, no visitors, and on a random day in September, a bunch of fat weebs show up and have the whole base on high alert.
But worse, in the weeks coming up to it, you have to learn what a Naruto run is.
Right, because
you have to be briefed on what a Naruto run is.
Anyone who's been in the military knows that safety briefings are bullshit that we all have to deal with. Don't rape each other, don't kill each other, and if don't rape her. Yeah, it only goes one way in the military.
It always does.
And now on top of that, let's talk about the impending Naruto run security threat. And you, as a 20-something who's familiar with internet culture, have to sit here and listen to someone who's been in the Air Force for a long time and earned their stripes have to say with all dead seriousness that a bunch of 20-year-old weebs are coming to make one particular day in your hellish life worse. Because not only if you're working night shift, when they start showing up, you're staying on shift, and the next shift has to stay on with you. Mm-hmm. It's just a whole chain of fuckery for the poor bastards who have to guard that date. And I have solidarity with them, having had to have done some similar things myself. Fuck that. I would be angry, and it probably would not be a time for me to have a loaded gun. Because I know I'd be sitting there looking at it going, how can I Ferguson my way out of this? Oh, there was some security force with a taser and a pistol who went, I'm ready. Because nothing happens out there.
No.
So it was either an Air Force guard who really wanted to taser somebody and did, or worse, it was some private military contractor, and that woman probably hasn't been seen since. Those guys are scary.
No, she got arrested. She was arrested. She probably got charged with trespassing.
You see how you say probably?
No one knows. She got a picture taken by the media.
Uh-huh. But have we seen her since?
Not as far as I'm aware, but...
They fed her to the... Case in point, they fed her to the aliens. Yeah. Or to the security forces guy who really wanted taser training. Fair Either enough. One of those is equally likely.
I believe the next live raiding party is going for the Vatican.
Why?
Because apparently they can't rape all of us.
I mean, okay, but they do understand that they have guys with, like, halberds, right?
Such an effective weapon.
Maybe. I'd rather be shot than stabbed with a medieval weapon. Because if you die, you have to be the first person to have died via halberd in like 1,000 years.
Not 1,000, but a decent enough time period that it's kind of embarrassing.
Right. You live in an age of nuclear weapons. What killed you?
A halberd.
You have to say that to whichever god you choose to believe is there or the great nothing, and that shit's on your tombstone. Either way, you got medieval weaponed to death. It's either really cool if you're into that sort of thing, or really not dignified. In an age where there's nuked, you got stuck like a pig by a Swiss guard. You got killed by the Swiss with a medieval weapon. That's some like Twisted Clue shit.
I think the Swiss guard nowadays use MP5s, so
that I'm okay with. An MP5, victim of an MP5. But if you get halberded by a Swissman in 2019, yeah. What a way to go. And honestly, if I'm going to raid the Vatican, I'm going for the archives.
Yeah, no, right? Like, I want to know what the fuck they have down there.
Me too. And that's why we're history majors. Everyone else is going to be going for, like, the Pope and the gold. We're going to be down there in the bone. Hey, get this. What? They've got Jimmy Hoffa down here. No shit. Apparently he was a Protestant. They got his ass. What else they got down here? Hitler. Is he still alive? Yes. Where is he? He's here. Say hello. Why is he down here? Your guess is as good as mine.
Indiscriminate German. I thought they found Hitler alive in like Argentina. Like
they did. No, they didn't find Hitler alive in Argentina, because if they did, I feel like there would have been a blip on CNN. Hey, by the way, they found a photo of a guy who might possibly look sort of like Hitler.
Oh yeah.
There's this crazy-ass theory that somehow, even though Berlin was completely encircled, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, there's only maybe 3 ways via water out of Germany. Because by that point in the war, I'm pretty sure Italy had fallen. Mm-hmm. There's this theory that Hitler got into a submarine, which I studied U-boats extensively. That would have been a hell of a feat. And submarined all the way to Argentina undetected. And started a new life there.
Feasible?
Well, U-boats were not particularly great machines. U-boat detection was really up by that point in time. We were really good at killing them by then. That's my question. Where did they sail that U-boat out of? Hamburg? Okay. That would have meant they had to have made it through the Danish Strait, past the Soviets, past England, past the French, past the Americans, past Africa where there were a bunch of English and Americans, made it to Southern America, surfaced the submarine, not been seen, gotten off, sank the submarine, and started a new life from nothing without anybody thinking that the white people showing up was a little suspicious. Which, at that point, there was a lot of German being spoken around then, so that last point could be dismissed.
Feasible.
Feasible. Do I believe it?
Likely, nah.
But I also am not entirely sure the Russians killed him. We burned the body and threw it in a river so it wouldn't become a shrine. Yeah.
Yeah, say the people who currently have...
And then we're going to kill half our population later for fun. Credibility-wise.
Speaking of half the population dying, I apologize to the viewers. You currently have someone staring at you with her soul's eyes.
Is it Hillary's drones?
No, it's AOC.
I'm more afraid of Hillary's drones. AOC has the motivation, sure, but Hillary has the ability to follow through.
But did you know that she had a press release the day after the impeachment announcement?
No. Why would I keep up with that? I'm a sane, rational person.
Yeah, I didn't know either until, this morning.
Alright, so what was in this? Enlighten us. What was in this press release?
Well, it's... You'd have to use an electron microscope to determine the length.
Right, but now this is that amount less left than Occupy Democrats.
Oh yeah, they released a video on why we shouldn't say guys.
Guys? Well,
yes.
We don't. We live in the South. We say y'all, fuck off. Okay.
Fair enough.
Fuck you, Pacific or Atlantic Northeast. Pretty much fuck anywhere that's not Texas.
Fuck the Yankees.
Sure, why not? The South will rise again. It won't.
No. We're too economically dependent.
Fuck that, we're all too fat. Have you had the food down here? It's delicious.
I know, right?
If we go to war, I can't have tacos.
I love Seoul and Southern comfort food. It's so good.
Tax-max. Point is, the South won't rise again because we're eating tacos. Fuck off, leave us alone, let us have our tacos and our heart attacks.
No kidding.
And our guns. We're not going to do anything with them if you stop fucking with us.
But she calls this new plan...
Okay, then we got a new deal. That new.
Just a just society.
Just a just society.
No. It's called the Just Society Plan.
Is this going to be like the Great Society Plan? Because that went over really well for anyone who wasn't white. It didn't.
I mean, I don't know.
And LBJ, a Texan, proudly proclaimed how he would have those N-words voting Democrat for 100 years.
We don't claim him.
But the point is, it worked.
Very true.
He had a plan. He executed the plan. He said the N-word publicly, got away with it, and broke the black family unit.
Yeah.
And they all vote Democrat, apparently, if you listen to the media, which I don't.
If
it's anything like that...
Statistics overwhelmingly, they do vote Democrat.
Right. So if it's anything like his Great Society, the Just Society should be a real humdinger.
I know. She released a press release. So let's start. So let's look at that, shall we?
Can we not?
No. Do you want an hour's worth of content?
Do you want the answer to that question?
No.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so let's hash this out right now. Are you in charge of this thing, or am I? Because
judging by the fact that you're about to play that clip, how do you think the power structure here falls?
So you're along for the ride, then?
I've always been along for the ride.
Fine.
You're the only one that keeps us on task. If it was up to me, we would be talking about things that our audience isn't ready to hear yet.
Fine, whatever.
Jack boots in the distance.
Let's see what our dear AOC has to say.
I'm going to start drinking.
Is at its wealthiest point than in its... America today is at its wealthiest point than in its entire history.
I mean, are we though?
I don't know, but if we are, can we blame Trump?
I think...
For our audience who doesn't know, every time he hits play on that clip, I have this giant mug of beer I've just been drinking until she stops talking. Marriage 101, boys.
Are we at our wealthiest point in our history? I would say the 20s and 50s were...
20s were a lie. Gilded Age. 50s, you got something there. You had the post-war economic boom, the fact that the manufacturing capacity of the entire planet was basically decimated, and American factories were untouched, leading to a massive economic boom. Now you factor in Dwight Eisenhower's highway plan with the explosion of the automotive industry. I would say the 50s would be pretty hard to beat. But
pegged to inflation, our GDP from the 50s would probably up.
Maybe, but in the 50s, a single working man, I could afford to have my wife stay home and buy a house.
But on top of that, we're also currently $22 trillion in debt.
Oh,
which
yeah,
we
that's
didn't
cool.
have around the turn of the century.
No, because the whole world's manufacturing capacity was broken, and we were selling them everything. We sold them the tools to kill each other, and then the tools to rebuild. It was the most American time. And then there was also the segregation.
So the wealthiest point is in its entire history is up for debate.
Yeah, I mean, I would need charts. I would
Yeah.
need a chart and a lot more time.
Like you would, yeah.
Because the 50s, I feel like, could give us a run for our money.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had this thing back then called a budget surplus. So, I mean, that in and of itself tells me some things.
Yeah.
And even if we want to, we had a budget surplus when Bill was in office.
Mm-hmm.
Among a surplus of other things. But the point is, since we
Complicated
don't have a
addresses.
budget surplus, I'm going to have to say no. But that might be a very shaky argument. Economics,
Yeah, but-
it's hard to talk economics on the fly. You really need a lot
Yeah,
of
it
supporting
is.
evidence. We'll let some smartass in the audience correct us.
Mm.
And in fact, many would argue that today the United States represents one of the richest societies in global history.
Singapore.
Signature than us?
Pretty sure. I thought Switzerland was for a while, too.
Hmm.
We're not the richest country in the world.
No, we're not.
Pretty sure that Germany might actually be richer than us, too.
Even so,
The
like,
point is Singapore, Hong Kong, up until the riots.
but in global history,
Again,
I mean,
we're
talking
talking
about-
very subjective things
like
here.
we're talking about extraordinarily subjective things, and like.
I honestly didn't come prepared for this fight. I kind of brought a knife to a gunfight on this because in order to support or argue with her claim, I need evidence.
Yeah.
She can just make a claim. I can't. I'm inclined to disagree because there are countries who are doing better than us. It used to be China, but honestly, I'm not up to date on how that's going either. I've heard not well. But
nope.
Singapore is doing really well.
Singapore is doing well. Japan tends to do well.
Yeah, do they do better than us? I doubt it, just because of sheer landmass.
But even still, let's go back further and talk about the ancient Greeks, Persia, Mesopotamia, the Egyptians.
Fuck all of that. Rome.
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 Like, are we really currently outpacing?
In terms of social decay, we're definitely outpacing Rome.
I think we're about on a track with Rome.
I mean, to be fair though, when their society collapsed, at least they had orgies. What do we have? Shame,
Yeah.
debt, and shame.
Yeah, I blame the Puritan upbringing. I blame the Puritan roots. But
I don't feel like there's orgies really going on anywhere in the world right now, though. Maybe that's the problem.
maybe.
See, in Rome, you just had an orgy.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do now? And you got to watch some guy get fed to a lion.
Yeah.
Now what do we get? Kaepernick? He didn't get fed to a lion. If they wanted to be evil, they could feed him to the Detroit Lions. I don't even know anything about football, and I know they suck. But where's the blood sport? And where are the orgies? Make America Rome again.
Except among all these record profits, 40 million Americans are living in poverty.
Okay.
Do we count?
No.
Then I'll.
Do we make? Is our household income less than like 25,000 a year?
Individually, yes. The fact that there's 3 of us living in a house should say something.
Fair enough. Yes, we live in poverty.
At least
We live pretty good, don't we?
I mean, my beer keeps flowing, but maybe it's because I drink because of the poverty. I
Like
don't know.
this is the issue. Her sort of thing. This sort of thing. Like 40 million Americans live in poverty.
Out of 300 million, can
Out
we
of
get a stat
300
worked up on that?
But out of this is from the UN. So
Who gives a fuck what they think?
Like everything she'll mention from now on comes from a UN study.
The UN would disarm us all and occupy our cities.
Yes.
The UN, who, like, the state of Texas has threatened to declare war on at least twice in my recent memory.
Really? Nice. Yes.
We live in the craziest state in the union, and I love it. We live in the craziest state on the best meme timeline in history. You want to know what we have an abundance of? Screw what she says. We are on the craziest fucking timeline. Like, let's review. 2016. It all started with a gorilla. You see how I say that, and everyone collectively went, huh? And then the clowns
Shit.
came, and then the Donald came, and then the left collectively melted down, and then the Hillary suicidings came. This shit's been... And then we have a president who tweets out Nickelback memes. This is a real timeline we live in, and everyone's like, oh, well, our economy. Screw that. Has anyone noticed that we live in the craziest fucking timeline right now? We have a president that tweets out memes that I have to click on to make sure they came from his account. And so far, 10 out of 10 times, blue check mark.
Mm-hmm.
And I sit there and I look at it, and I don't ever know whether to be mad
Oh, yeah.
or to
CNN
chuckle.
blackmailed the guy.
CNN...
Like, this has happened.
Right, they blackmailed a 17-year-old kid for making a meme.
Yeah.
The point is...
Actually, I don't think...
They did. I covered that. They did. This kid made a meme of Donald Trump like when he was doing WWE.
He was 17?
Yeah, he was like 17.
Really?
Yeah, 17.
Because
I
I never got a specific age. I heard it was
I
like
did, because
a
I was very
15-year-old,
interested in it.
a 30-year-old.
Back in those days, I was really against the media, and everyone told me I was crazy.
Nowadays, everybody's back behind you.
Uh-huh. It's great being like 3 years ahead of schedule.
You really need to see the Razor Fist "Fuck You, I Was Right" dance.
But, well, anyway, the point is that it all started with a gorilla, and since then, the time-space continuum has been a little fucky. Like, if a time traveler showed up right now, walked onto stage while Trump was giving a speech, took his hair and said, we need history, and teleported away, it would be less believable than half the shit that man tweets. Like, I would have an easier time swallowing that whole scenario than half of the shit I see online that he actually says.
I would as well.
That's the point. Crazy is the new normal. Things that would have been an Onion article 5 years ago are our reality. And everybody's talking about how we need to spread the wealth. Spread the memes. There will never be a better meme timeline than this one. There's no way it gets any crazier or wackier. And if it does, strap in, because that's where people like me thrive, in the chaos. Screw AOC, she's a meme. Trump's a meme. To some lesser and slightly Stifler's mommy effect, so is Pelosi, she's a meme. Biden's gonna kill someone on stage.
Probably.
Again, I would just love to see him challenge someone to blood sport. Come on. Keel over, let the darkness take you. Oh, hey.
Anyway. Let's engage with this statistic, shall we?
I tried to run with it, but he caught me.
40 million people, 30 million Americans live in poverty.
Sure.
Okay, what's poverty?
20,000 or less, I think. 25,000 if they raised it recently.
So, okay. Standard of living in the U.S.
Higher than that of Nairobi. If you can't find Nairobi,
So
get on my level.
So, would you say that living in poverty in the U.S. is pretty damn good?
I mean, you don't
All
hear me
things
advocating
considered?
for socialism, do you?
Yeah. It's weird that, but the UN statistics that she's pulling this from
Sure.
don't actually take into account the multiple social programs that people can apply for and get help from.
Can we talk about the fact that
There's
the
been
poorer
billions on.
the poorer you are in the U.S., the more likely you are to be fat? It's a strange sort of poverty, historically speaking.
Yeah.
The poorer you are in America, the more likely you are to be morbidly obese, overweight, overfed, if you will.
Yeah.
So, as someone who studied history a time or two, that's fucking weird.
Yeah, it is. It is weird.
It makes sense when you go into it, and I'm sure, for those that don't know, but foods that make you fat are cheaper, which is why being poor.
When you start crunching numbers,
It makes total sense. But we live in a timeline where the poorest people are fat.
poorest people are fat.
Meanwhile, in Kenya, Nairobi, and other parts of very bad places in Africa. Actually, I think Nairobi and Kenya are very nice places. But the point is, there's someone in Africa dying of starvation right now.
Exactly.
Poverty.
That's
Now,
poverty.
American poverty is a poverty that I'm not content with,
Yeah.
but I won't die of not having clean drinking water tomorrow.
Very
and I
true.
have that perspective. So yes, while I may technically count as someone who lives in poverty, I would rather be in poverty here than, I don't know, Africa,
Oh, yeah.
the Middle East,
But even still,
Asia.
well, let's be real here. The people that live like those people, like
Sure.
the people that live in poverty in Africa.
Sure.
They
the
live
real
in poverty here, but they don't engage with society. Like
That's not true.
they're gypsies.
That is not true.
Like-
Our alma mater, Sam Houston State in Huntsville, Texas, large portion of that town's main export is prison. For those who don't know, there are 7-8 prisons in that town.
Yep.
Large amounts of Nigerian immigrants working in the prisons. And while Huntsville,
I don't mean like African people. I mean like people that choose not to engage with the society.
I'm getting there. The point is, they're working in our prisons. To us, probably the lowest place you can be in America, a prison in Huntsville, Texas. Being in Huntsville is bad enough, but to be there against your will. Whew. And these people are coming here to Texas, working as a guard, where you have to do some very unscrupulous things, like, search nutsacks. Living in Huntsville, Texas, and they're happy to be alive.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I acted like I was at gunpoint most of the time in Huntsville. Perspective. Because poverty, which is what 90% I think of Huntsville is, poverty in university students, for them is living like a king. Or a prince, if you will.
Yeah. I've never gotten that email.
I've gotten so many of
I
those.
know it was like super famous.
I still get those emails.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Like the Nigerian prince one.
Nigerian prince, and you've won $5 million in the Nigerian lottery.
Huh.
Yeah.
I guess it's because my name isn't in my email.
Maybe. I mean, that might be it. I don't know. They all go to my spam folder, but if I'm ever bored on the crapper, my spam folder is a very entertaining place to go. Yeah, you heard it here first.
Mostly I just get, like, pills for Viagra and shit.
Well, you do drink Grappleteenies unironically.
Fair enough.
But the point is, perspective.
Yeah.
Everything in this world is perspective. Now,
But
AOC, out of every politician in D.C., AOC, I will say, is the most unique qualified to bitch at me about these things. Why? Before she was an elected official, she worked a bar.
Yeah.
She worked that life. She didn't have enough money to put down on an apartment in D.C. because she was broke as fuck. I get that. I don't agree with her on literally anything. But if anyone's going to lecture to me about circumstance out of the D.C. elite, it's going to be her. However, everything she says is batshit crazy, and she's now working a job where you get your health benefits for life after getting elected. I see what she's doing. She did this for healthcare. Good on you. Don't get me wrong. I thought about doing it too. I think any idiot with half of IQ and some motivation could be a senator. Apparently, the bar is not set high. Look at your local representatives, people. You'll see what I mean. I would definitely say some batshit crazy things to get into, the Senate or the House so I could get free healthcare for life. They get their paychecks for life, too.
They don't get their pension.
Which is more than most of us make in a year.
Very true.
I could do that, and I will say equally batshit crazy things, just so I get a pension and healthcare for the rest of my life. AOC is working all of us. She's actually than everyone in the room.
She's a true believer.
I don't think so. I think this is all for healthcare.
You've seen her, like, crazy... You've looked at a picture of her, yes?
I've looked at pictures of every politician in the world, and they look crazy. I sent you one last week that we've now got on the page of Cory Booker looking terrified of his own hand.
Fair enough.
You take a picture at the right time, anything can look like anything.
No, opening this video, she has crazy eyes, man.
Okay, so I'm not going to try to date her. My problems with that crazy eyes extends to I'm not going to date AOC because I'm happily married with a woman that could pass as sane. She can't, and that's fine. Someone somewhere is okay with that. But her crazy eyes aren't my problem unless she gets elected president and gets the nuclear football. Until then, she can be as crazy as she wants. Because what's the difference between her and Pelosi?
Experience and lack of crazy eyes.
Pelosi doesn't have crazy eyes, but Pelosi eats children. With a dry martini.
Fair enough. We're only 17 seconds in. Let's keep going.
Oh, man.
And 18.5 million Americans are living in extreme poverty, which is measured as less than $2 a day.
For just $4 a day, you could support a family that somehow doesn't manage to make $2 a day in the United States.
I know, right?
And the fact that you say that is why I sleep with a gun.
Whatever.
That's why I'm so excited to introduce a suite of legislation, including 5 bills and 1 resolution that begins to chip away at our issues of economic injustice. And we're calling it a just society.
So, economic injustice. If she's not going after Visa, I really don't know what she's doing here. Don't get me wrong, I hear it. But so long as there's credit cards, there's going to be economic injustice. And I didn't hear her say anything about credit card companies, predatory loan companies, payday loan companies.
We'll get to predatory, but it's not the people you're saying.
No, that's Joe Biden.
Wrong kind of predatory. We'll talk about... I think she talks about predatory landlords in a minute.
Okay. A predatory landlord is a lot less of an impact on most people than a predatory credit card.
Indeed.
Or a predatory payday loan.
Speaking from
predatory
experience.
auto loan. Predatory. I'm just saying there's a lot of sectors here that I think do economic damages, and while landlords might be in the top 10, they're not in the top 5. And she lives in the fucking Atlantic North.
Yeah.
Every landlord there is predatory.
Because
but there's
they have to be.
No, they don't. No, they don't. But if you could rent an apartment for $600 a month or $6,000 a month, where are you going to go? Our landlords don't care. They're all in a villa in Italy at this point.
Fair enough.
I mean, they're nowhere near as damaging as a predatory loan, 2008 financial crisis, a predatory credit card, 2020 financial crisis. I'm just saying by 2027, something's going to happen. It's either going to be tech, auto, or credit cards.
Tech.
Possibly.
Tech.
Possibly. I'm going to say these fucking loans that our generation, the millennials, are taking out are going to go belly up. It's going to be like the housing crisis, but, worse. So, there's that. Landlords. Problem. Not as bad as predatory lending. Does not say a thing about predatory lending because there's too many words in the word predatory lending. Too many big words. But continue making her speak. I'll drink.
A just society is a place where
We have a nappy black woman.
everyone has a place to sleep, food to eat, and access to education.
A just society to me would be better housing, better job opportunities, freedom to transform.
Entonces, creo que si hay una sociedad justa, debería ser para todo igual.
Una sociedad justa sería respeto a la misma raza.
Technically, and I'll be that guy, sleeping under a bridge and eating out of a trash can counts as a place to sleep and food to eat.
Yeah.
It's not the best, but I'm just saying for the record, she doesn't go into detail.
No, she doesn't.
Everyone's heard those fairy tales about, the genie where you get 3 wishes and you order, ask for $1 million and it's a bunch of deer. Mm-hmm. Think of it.
Yeah.
You need a place to sleep and food to eat. Under an underpass is a place to sleep, and food out of a McDonald's dumpster is food to eat. I'm just saying, big buzzwords can have a lot of meaning.
Yeah.
And I trust no
politician.
politician.
Let's talk about the fact that she had a Spanish guy come on and say, a just society is equality for all.
Okay, I'm not anywhere. I'm more mad at the fact that she didn't say it, Miss Cortez. Because let's be honest, even Beto spoke Spanish. That's just lazy.
Yeah.
And not only then Beto did it, and then Booker did it, and honestly,
By the way,
I would vote for Warren if she'd have busted out some Cherokee.
By the way, the 2 men that you most likely just saw are members of Enovia.
The fuck is that?
They're an illegal immigrants' rights group.
They don't have rights.
Exactly.
According to whatever that city was you asked me about last week.
Shit, what did I talk about?
You told me about a city who shot some guy in an accidental raid, but said he didn't have rights because he was an illegal.
Oh, yeah.
I forget what
Dallas.
city. Yeah, that sounds very Dallas. These are the same people who took out a mass shooter with a fucking bomb robot. So.
Or, no, it might be something else with Dallas.
I don't know. It's always Dallas. But again, the same city that took out a shooter with a robot.
Yeah.
When they strapped some C4 to Wally and sent him in to blow up the shooter.
No, they didn't.
They
It
fucking
was
did.
a wrong door raid.
I'm talking about the guy who shot up the Black Lives Matter rally.
Oh.
Yeah, remember when they strapped some C4 to a robot and blew him up?
No.
How do you forget something that awesome? Yeah, they had him cornered in a parking garage, and instead of getting into a shootout, they put a bunch of explosives on a bomb-diffusing robot and blew him up.
That seems like a waste of a robot.
It probably was, but can you think of anything more Texas?
No.
The memes were lit. They were all Wally related. Like Wally Akbar. It was beautiful. Anyway, the point is I could see that happening in Dallas, but the point is that we can have one or the other. Illegals, rights activist group, or we can raid your house for no reason and kill you because you have no rights.
Yeah.
It's a one or the other. Again, America, I don't care which you choose. I just ask that you choose.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've been saying that a lot.
Continuing on.
I'm going to start drinking.
Our first bill is called the Recognizing Poverty Act, which seeks to update the national poverty guidelines in order for us to acknowledge modern life.
The Recognizing Poverty Act.
Remember, everyone, this is all data she's gathered from the UN.
Okay.
A very much biased source, let's be real here.
Don't know enough about it. I don't, personally.
And the data she's working with does not account for the millions, or possibly billions, we spend on social programs to assist the poor.
Hold on. You're taking this in a serious direction, and for that I respect you. Recognizing poverty. We in the South have a way of doing that, presented wonderfully by one of our most intelligent minds by the name of Jeff Foxworthy. You might be a redneck, which is just a Southern way of saying you might be in poverty, if you have so much junk in your lawn that people think you're having a yard sale. So my proposal is if we're going to have the Recognizing Poverty Act, it should be done in the form of a Jeff Foxworthy you might be a redneck bit. Because there's no difference between those two if you really get down to the data.
There really isn't.
Why do I know this? I don't know. I'm at a weird part of Enlightenment.
The majority of the people she's talking about now
aren't rednecks.
Aren't.
But the point
don't have dark skin. They're white.
Yeah, but the funny part is the poor people she thinks she's catering to. I've seen poverty. My family largely still resides in a trailer park. You wouldn't know that by looking at me because I chose a different path. But I have a relative who currently holds a county record for the farthest launch of a water heater, which is only a misdemeanor, believe it or not. Yeah, you see how you say that, and I say that, and everyone collectively tilts their head and squints? That's a level of poverty most people don't understand. When you're so bored and the cable got disconnected, so you say, hey, we've got a spare water heater, let's see where the night takes us. That's poverty. If you
I'm shocked that it's only a misdemeanor.
It is, unless it hits something.
Huh.
If it lands in the parking lot of the constable's office, however, and he happens to be your cousin, he knows your handiwork. It's a small county. And it's great because when he pulls up and goes, did you launch this water heater? And you go, no. And he goes, where did that crater come from? And you watch two of your cousins argue about whether that crater was there previously or not, even though he had just been there for dinner an hour ago. You've hit peak poverty. Nobody, collectively, everyone in that conversation might make a combined income of $40,000. Combined. And a water heater to the family together. Mm-hmm. With some fins strapped onto it. That's poverty. AOC is talking about poor immigrant families. Meanwhile, I've seen poverty. I've seen someone fix a vehicle with duct tape and put black masking tape over a check engine light to pass inspection because they couldn't afford to do it twice. It's $10. But a piece of electrical tape is 32 cents. Mm-hmm. To quote my cousin Bo. My point is, poverty has many forms. There's inner city poverty, Section 8 housing, and then there's Jeff Foxworthy poverty, where, you know, you may have
cousin
clothes...
Jim.
Cousin Bo, yeah. You may have clothes made from something you killed. Hopefully it's an animal. Hopefully.
We're not going to dig into that. Actually, you know what? I'll dig into that off the air, because that seems like a YouTube will kick us off the platform kind of conversation.
It would be really impressive if we managed to get kicked off the platform before we hit 50 consistent viewers. I'd actually consider that a point of pride.
I would too, honestly.
But the point is, I have seen people who have gone to the grocery store to get dinner and also ran dinner over on I-30. Well, okay, Highway 16, but still, if we're getting into specifics, I've had dinner that was run over.
How was roadkill, by the way?
Tinder. What?
Of all the responses, I didn't expect that.
I mean, it was pre-tenderized.
You were just so that you didn't even stop. You were just
Fell right off the bone.
Tinder.
God damn it. It came right off the bone. What can I say? Some people get their dinner from H-E-B. Some people get it from driving an F-150 a little too fast.
Alright.
The point is, AOC's not ready for the kind of poverty that exists in this world, which includes getting your dinner with an F-150.
Yeah.
Which includes geographic cost of living, the price of health insurance, child care, and new necessities like internet access.
Not everyone needs to have internet access.
Let's be real. Most people don't need to have internet access. You fuckers have seen the comment threads. Most people don't need
Most
internet
people
access.
don't need internet access. But really, there's places where I can access the internet for free.
Maybe, but when you live in poverty in the hills of Texas, no, there's not. But it doesn't matter.
The local library?
What local library?
Fair enough.
I grew up in an area where the local library was 30 minutes in either direction. But we still figured out how to launch water heaters. Point is, that's a very city person perspective. And so is hers. She grew up in New York, where everyone needs internet access. Well, you don't. There's plenty of places in the hill country of Texas, West Texas, East Texas, where internet access is a thing you have.
And there's still places, like my parents moved to a fairly rural area recently.
They have my condolences. City life is where it's at, in my opinion.
I
lived in the woods.
I prefer in between.
I lived in the woods. The kind of place where people get murdered in movies, I lived for 2 years.
I know.
Yeah, you passed out there drunk multiple times.
I did.
Did you feel safe wandering those woods?
No.
That's the kind of people she wants to have internet access. Here's the problem that I don't think Democrats, or at least AOC, doesn't understand. If you give internet access to all the people who don't have it, it's going to put a lot of Republicans online.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of Republicans. I personally don't want my Uncle Bo to discover the internet.
Are you afraid of what he'll do with it?
Yes, because already, just off of a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook and a 6-pack of Coors, he can launch a water heater half a mile into town. You give this man internet access and free, and the next thing you know, George Bush will invade the middle of Texas looking for WMDs.
You forgot that one crucial thing.
What might that be?
The principal reason the internet was created.
There's also that. I'm more worried about the weapons of mass destruction.
If you're missing it, the internet is for porn, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but who can watch porn on 500 kilobits of upload? You can read enough on how to launch a water heater and make it into a nuke, but you really can't stream video.
Who cared about streaming video pictures? We'll go back. They'll go back to the 90s. It'll be okay.
I mean, maybe. But again, you can only do that so many times in a day. And then they'll discover how to put a nuclear warhead on a water heater. Again, we can give all of the poor internet. I may be behind that. However, I don't think she understands just how many rednecks are in the world who don't have internet access. I feel like rural folks are less likely to, or more likely to not have internet than the people of a specific demographic she may be mentally picturing. And if we give these rural folks internet,
I keep thinking this. She doesn't understand the majority of the people the majority of the 40 million she's talking about
are mountain men in West Virginia
are white.
Well, but maybe she's not thinking about race, just economic situation. maybe she's not trying to spin a racial narrative. Maybe she just wants all the poors to have internet. Let's give her that benefit of the doubt. Until you hit play again, and that gets disproved in like 5 seconds.
Fine. All right, let's go.
A just society recognizes and eradicates poverty.
I love this. Because, hold on. All right.
But if you eradicate poverty, then doesn't middle class become poverty by proxy?
Let's start with... Shall we continue? Shall we engage with this statement?
Well, if you eliminate poverty, say you pulled everybody above the $25,000 range out of the poverty zone. Mm-hmm. Say everyone in America makes $26,000 a year. Then wouldn't $26,000 to $30,000 be the new poverty?
Correct. That's how realistic it would work. But my concern is the way she's phrased this.
Fight poverty? I mean,
no.
Okay.
She's like, I have it right in front of me because now this closed captions all their videos. It says, a just society recognizes and eradicates poverty.
But can you ever truly eradicate poverty?
Regardless of whether there's a feasible possibility of us ever eliminating poverty, I don't think there is.
My take from that is there's never been a just society.
Very firmly in that American society, simply because it has poverty. Poverty is existent in American society. Okay. American society is not just. But
I mean, okay.
AOC, if I were to say exist in a just society.
Sure. A utopia.
If I were to eliminate poverty.
Sure.
Somebody
fuck it up.
Does it matter by what means I do that?
I mean, are you asking me or the viewers?
If in order for a just society to exist,
sure,
I must eliminate poverty.
Sure.
Well, is it okay? Whatever means I choose to achieve that are perfectly okay because I'm achieving a just society.
Now, are you asking me that question or society that question? Because me, I say fucking kick off the boogaloo. Let's do it. It'll be funny. However, if you're asking the rest of society who might stand something to lose from that because they didn't personally buy, things to prepare for said situation, maybe not. Do I personally believe that any means necessary works? Sure. It'll be like The Purge, but fun. Not politically oriented. Just shameless slaughter. The way God intended. You see how that sounds scary to anybody else? That's the world. If we're going to try to eliminate poverty by any means necessary, The Purge seems to be the best way to do that.
But my issue is if you're going to couch this kind of argumentation...
Which I'm not, but a purge still would be fun. I'm just throwing that out there.
In moralistic terms...
No, I'm not considering that at all.
The means justify the ends. I'm talking about her, not you.
I would say, morally, you can either have a just society or you can have a moral one.
You can have a just society or you can have a free society. A just society is a moral society. Because a just society is... By
whose standard?
Exactly.
That's the point. Because what I would consider a just society means that if you didn't use your blinker, you'd be taken out back and shot.
Because if you had a free... Which is why we have a free society where morality is determined by the individual.
Which is why so many people cannot use a blinker and not be shot.
Exactly. But
I'm coming for you, BMW drivers.
But a just society has a moral dictate, which it must follow.
Sure. So, Rome.
Yes.
Hitler's Germany.
Correct. Stalin's Russia.
Who's that other guy? Pol Pot's Cambodia.
Pol Pot, Castro.
So what we're hearing is that people have to die.
Yes.
Better you than me.
Fair enough.
By the way, I saw a picture of Beto with his shirt off. At least he started the gun confiscation with him.
Wait, really?
No guns. Like, he's worse off than I am. It's saying something.
The next act is the Place to Prosper Act.
Just so everyone knows, I'm drinking. As long as she talks, I'm taking a chug.
My story begins in 2017 when our landlords sold their property to new business developers.
Hold on. Y'all won't get this, but he will.
Oh, God, what's up? What in the hell is that? It's Maui time.
I was thinking something else.
Hold on, I just took a huge swig of beer. I'm trying to process what I'm looking at here. What am I looking at?
Imagine it with makeup.
I'm still feeling like Moana here. Like, get me to the right way here. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. For many legal reasons, we can't go into that, but I see it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to be hit with libel, so we can't go that way, but okay, yeah. But I also...
She doesn't listen.
You don't know.
That's fair.
I'm going to stick with my Maui thing, though. Look at it.
Yeah, I can see Maui.
Maui time! Anyway.
And then they in turn came in with the $300 pay increase. People that are supportive of this cause, you stand no chance in the eviction court system.
Okay, who cares? Find a new place to live.
I don't know. Apparently that's really hard in the East. Like, people compete to overpay for rent over there.
Yeah.
But to be fair, so our viewers know, my biggest frame of reference is Friends and How I Met Your Mother and what it takes to rent an apartment in the East.
Yeah.
Why, you may ask? Because I have no intention of ever living in one of those hellholes. I would rather die in poverty in Texas than live as a rich man in New York.
Personally, I would like, if it wasn't a hellhole, a liberal hellhole, I'd move up to Washington.
Why? I have a friend in Washington.
Beautiful.
I have a friend in Washington. You want to know where his favorite place to visit is? Texas. To be fair, he's also a doctor, but still.
Yeah, because Washington's a liberal hellhole. If it wasn't a liberal hellhole, I'd live there.
You want to know why it's a liberal hellhole? They were invaded.
By Canadians.
No. Worse.
Californians.
Yes, just like we're being invaded by Californians. All of whom I detest. By the way, the person on Facebook who tried to troll us is a Californian.
Oh.
Who in his profile picture wears a Hummer hat.
Oh, yeah.
That one, yeah.
I saw him.
Mm-hmm. I did too. And you can either be a Californian or wear a Hummer hat. If you're not Arnold fucking Schwarzenegger, you don't get to do both. But he tried to cuss in our advertisement so that it wouldn't pop up on people's feeds. And he was very proud of himself. I don't think he realizes, I can delete comments! But that's exactly what I expect from a race of people who should be falling into the ocean for the good of America.
Yeah, can we dig the fault line?
I've been saying we have nukes. We have an abundance of... We can end the world 4 times over. Can we spare 2? Just 2 nukes. I need Sarah McLachlan. For just 10 cents a day, you could put a nuke in the San Andreas Fault and get rid of those motherfuckers. And I would support this. That'd be California, when Trump got elected, threatened to secede. I donated money to that. Because 1, if they can do it, so can we.
Yeah.
But 2, yes!
Yes! Leave! Never return!
Not only that, I would volunteer for California Border Patrol. Yes. I would love my job. We got an illegal Californian. He's got a weapon. That's a cactus. Take him down! Pop, 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 pop. Yeah. But
you'll never catch me!
That'd be another thing. Skinny jeans. He's making a run for it. He'll hit speed any day now.
No!
And down he goes. Be like, what's that you've got in your cannon? Gluten bread. Whack! Oh, God!
No! My diet!
My point.
By the way, one of the greatest jokes ever told.
California.
No. The joke where the fairy godmother ruins her diet in Shrek 2.
True. But my point is, California, please secede. We're all for you. Do it. So that I can have my dream job of stopping you from crossing the border.
No kidding. California GTFO.
You want out, we want you out. Look, it's not you. It's us. And by that, I mean it's you.
Fire.
But also, being on the California Border Patrol would be so much fun. Think about it. How much fun that would be. What's this? Red meat. Whack! Oh, God! It'd be wonderful. The thing
You animal abuser!
Right? Be like, hey, I bet you I could hit that guy with a hamburger patty. He's like 100 yards out. Whack! You bastard! I'm just saying, if they're not gonna do it, Hollywood, there's you a fucking screenplay. Sneaking across the California border. border.
I think they did that. I think they did that.
Did they really?
Yeah, it's called Man in the High Castle.
Okay, but that had Nazis. We just need a bunch of really sarcastic assholes making sure no liberals cross the California border. And, like, really creative ways.
You know there's a bunch of Republicans in Northern California. They'd probably move in.
I heard they were trying to make their own state, but the state of California mandated that they had to take, like, Sacramento with them. So it would have still been a blue state. Yeah, well played. Well played. And it would have worked if people weren't intelligent. But the point is, I know there are Republicans in California. They would pass the border check. There's a clip from American Dad. It's called the gay test. I imagine that's what the border patrol would look like. All right, are you straight? Yep. Okay. Clang, clang, clang. Goes the trolley. Back across the border with you.
Wait, just like musical theater?
No, I just like musicals. The point is, if you secede, I'm okay to let you go. I won't hold it against you, and you will give me my dream job of screening you all at the border, which I may or may not have some prerequisite experience in.
Returning to Maui.
What is
Maui
going on with
/
these
Mao.
greedy landlords is very unjust.
A just society is one where there is decent and fair housing, and that it is looked at as a human right.
Housing is not a human right.
Is housing a human right?
There's a debate. I would say that's debatable.
Well, without housing, one would in fact be homeless. We do have the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That's my rights guaranteed by
Sure.
America.
Sure.
Not necessarily human rights guaranteed.
But life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Inalienable rights given by God.
Yeah.
Nothing about housing. I mean, if we're being literal.
If your pursuit of happiness happens to include a house, well, kudos.
What if my pursuit of happiness happens to include other things?
If your pursuit of happiness involves harming another person, impeding another, if your pursuit of happiness involves impeding another in their pursuit of happiness.
Well, I mean, that's a very subjective thing. Some people won't be happy till people like us are dead.
Fair enough.
And certain people won't be happy till those people are dead. But it's also depriving of their right to life unless you organize some sort of facilities to hold them but not kill them, which could possibly be arranged in logistics through a railway network of sorts.
Stop it.
Sorry.
I'm heading off the train before it reaches its destination.
To be fair, historically, that's a good choice.
I knew you would laugh at that, but
And this is why I'm going to get taken away by the FBI. I swear to God, I hear a drone.
Alright, moving on.
Our second piece of legislation is called the Place to Prosper Act, which creates a national access to counsel fund for all renters in America who are currently facing eviction. It also imposes a national cap of 3% on annual rent increases and begins to pursue penalties on abusive and predatory landlords so that they don't hurt any other family again.
Hear
A
me
just
out.
society treats housing as a right, not a privilege.
Except for that last part, I actually agree with that. Let me explain why.
I don't agree with the 3% cap, but...
Let me explain why. When we lived in Huntsville, across the street, there lived this fuckface. He used to be a landlord. Now, when I told him that when we moved into the house, in order to save energy, we installed a Google Nest smart thermostat, told me that when he was a landlord, he would have filed an injunction to make sure we couldn't take that thermostat with us when we moved. And he frequently bragged to me about how he had tenants who he would do things like that of that nature routinely to people. He would he described all sorts of things. This guy was a bastard, and we wound up having a bit of an exchange.
Family Feud.
Let's call it that, but with AKs. Anyway, but he would tell me about all the terrible things that if someone improved the premises, like put a Google thermostat in order to save energy, he would, if they removed it, he would sue. He'd actually sued 15 people who'd rented from him in the past, and he was very proud of himself. Legislation like that would prevent people like him from having a right to breathe, and quite personally, I kind of hope he gets Clinton. He was a terrible human being, and he got off on the power of being a landlord. People like that do, in fact, exist.
I agree.
They're worse than me.
I agree.
Which is saying something. Because they get off on power. I just get off on the memes.
The one thing I don't agree with here, and I agree that renters should have more protection than...
Absolutely, and that's where I'm at on it. But however, I don't believe it's a right.
I don't agree with it as a right either. But I also don't agree with a 3% rent increase.
Why not? Because if you can increase someone's rent at 50% for no reason, you got to realize moving is expensive. Mm-hmm. To put in perspective, when we moved from East Texas to Central Texas, that move probably cost $5,000. Now, if you're a family living paycheck to paycheck, and your landlord decides that he wants to gentrify the building, he wants to sell to some wealthy Austinites, liberalites, who for some reason are really against income inequality, but seem to have a lot of money, and where it comes from, I don't know. He raises your rent 50%. You just go from paying $1,000 a month to $1,500. Mm-hmm. That's a huge increase. And some places have laws like that, but protect you from that. Some places don't. That's predatory landlording, but he knows he can charge the next couple, these Austinites or whoever, $2,000 a month, and they'll pay it gladly.
Yeah.
Now, that merits the question. His right, his property, or destroying a family, because how is the family going to pay to have their things moved? Then there's the deposits. God help you if you have a pet. You got to figure, you have to put first month's rent down. Some places it's first month's, last month's, plus a pet deposit. You're screwed. So, in a cap. Now, 3%, I don't know where they got that number. But a cap on per term lease increases might stop predatory landlords. I'm actually for that.
My issue is that it doesn't necessarily allow for the economy to function. This is the reason why rent is so high, is because rent control is a thing. Like they in New York, they won't allow apartments to go above a certain amount of rent. So
a one-bedroom apartment in New York costs double what this four-bedroom house we're currently sitting in does.
The reason that is because there's no competition.
Yes, there is.
Not necessarily. There's no new apartments. How many new apartment developments do you think occur in New York?
It doesn't matter if Johnny Fuckseed, nobody's going down in price. Oh,
exactly.
He's right across the street. He increased rent by $100, and they paid, so I'm going to do the same. Like stacking blocks. Nobody ever goes down because there's no competition. Prices never go down. However, people are going to see. Inevitably, people are going to try to squeeze as much money out of whoever they can for as long as they can.
But if you own an apartment complex and you have a waiting list, you're
going to keep raising rent.
Say you have rent that is, say you're making enough money on rent,
right?
Because you charge your tenant.
Sure. You understand that what you're about to say is how it works. My mother runs an apartment complex, and if they hit 100% occupancy, they raise the rent to drive people out and bring in new people. And if they still have a waiting list, they raise the rent again. That's exactly how the system works. If the building is full, you raise the rent until someone leaves, and you keep raising the rent because you're going to keep pushing that envelope until people can't pay anymore. And if you have a waiting list of people willing to fork over $4,000 a month for your shitty-ass apartment, why wouldn't you keep raising rents? And at some point, economically, it becomes untenable because somebody's got to wait tables. Because if you can't live in the fucking city,
and then somebody comes, and then there's another complex that gets built and undercuts you on rent.
Not in New York.
Not in New York.
Not on the East Coast because there's no land. Now here, sure, we got fields everywhere. You can build another, and that's why the Central Texas housing bubble will bust eventually, and maybe then I can afford to live in my own hometown again. But until then, I can't. But in a place like New York, you just said yourself, there's no competition. So where's the ceiling?
Exactly.
So, but the problem is her perspective is one of an East Coast perspective. Mm-hmm. The world she understands, the world she grew up in, her world.
I just looked at the screen.
Yeah. Stop looking at that.
Stop that.
What?
Crazy eyes.
She's got a nice rat.
Don't stick your dick in crazy.
You can just run after. It's like lighting a firework. I'm just saying, she's not that bad looking.
Fair enough. All right.
Just for our viewers, he saw me look at her face and then slowly look down. But to be fair, he's a gay and I'm a straight.
How can you tell?
I'm a man. Look, some men have gaydar, which I don't see the function in. Some men have boobdar. Which one is more useful
by the
to
way,
me?
when I met you, you didn't know I was gay.
No, because
And you
I
have gaydar.
Nah, I have boobdar. There are boobs within us. There are boobs worth seeing within a radius. I'll be way more likely to notice those than a gay because, let's be honest, which one serves me more function? Boobs or gays? Which one do I really want to spot?
The gays.
No. You want to spot the gays.
But I'm bad at it.
Yes, you are. I want to spot the boobs. I'm also bad at it because I'm married.
Fine.
But the point being, one, she's not unattractive. I'm willing to admit that until she speaks. But that being said, I forgot what we were talking about.
3% rent increase.
I don't see a problem with it in places, but she has an East Coast perspective. She sees things as someone who grew up in New York, which she did, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, she's proposing national policy on a regional viewpoint. I don't think I've ever seen AOC in Dallas, which, be careful, they have bomb robots there. But that's my gripe there is she's talking about rent increases like rent is and for millennials rent is a huge problem, but she's, again, New York perspective, and she's trying to apply it nationally. What a New York problem is rent doesn't necessarily track in Texas or California, where housing prices are crazy in California. That's my gripe about this. Rent is important. I agree because we rent. However, I don't feel like she fully understands the situation. Because my rent only ever goes up like $25. Where that might be a bigger problem in New York. She's thinking like a senator, which she is, which is good.
She's a member of the House.
Like it matters. However, she's going to make a play for the White House.
At some point, probably.
She will.
Assuming she gets reelected.
She will.
Apparently, she's not very popular within her own constituency.
Well, to be fair, the choice was her or some 94-year-old white guy.
Yeah, but he was one of the most hardline established Democrats in the country.
How'd that work for him? Now she's overthrowing My point is, where she's at, that mindset works. Should she ever make a run for the president, I'm going to say she's not going to work. However, I see from her perspective where that's an issue that needs to be addressed. It does directly affect her constituency. And for that, I'll say I agree. I'll allow it. Because it's a very New York problem. She's not running for president, so I'm not going to critique her on that scale.
All right. Next up is the Mercy and Reentry Act.
Now that, however, we will start drinking.
It's been really hard for me to find housing. I have the money for places and stuff, but they deny me for my felony history. It's not right, So no matter what, every place I go to, they try to force me to a certain area in town.
Whew. That was a long clip. I'm going to need you to dial those back a little bit, buddy. Whew.
Maybe don't drink when people are talking during the video.
If they weren't so stupid, I wouldn't need to drink.
So what do you think of the former felon being forced into a certain area of town?
To be fair, it's not hard to be a felon.
Yeah.
What was he a felon of?
That's a good question. He's got prison tats on his face, by the way.
Face tattoo.
Yeah.
He was in there for a while. Being a felon doesn't mean you're a bad person.
No.
However, if you raped a child, maybe you shouldn't be allowed in the school district.
Yeah, but
perspective is important on this. That's what I'm going to say to that.
Like...
I'm a felon. I'm forced to live in town. I refloated an idea I pitched last week, which is, why is that a bad thing? Live near fellow felons. What, you're telling me you don't want to live near felons? Okay. That's fine. But now you know how everyone else feels about you.
Yeah,
So either live with felons and lock your door.
But really, let's talk about what he said.
Okay.
I have the money to move places, but they're all forcing me to live in a certain
you get to pass a
area
background
of town.
check to rent a house. I had to pass a background check.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm married to a teacher. Took 10 seconds.
I could choose to live in this certain area of town.
But background checks.
But I could choose to live in an area of town where Like, I don't...
Upstanding members of society without face tattoos live.
Like, I'm not being forced out, or I'm not being ostracized or anything like that.
Kind of sounds like he is.
But
he also
no.
face tattoo on.
Like, he has the money to move into other parts of town.
You want to know what else he has? A face
forced.
tattoo.
He's supposedly being forced to stay in a certain area.
Well, yeah, because he's got a felony.
Because he's got a felony.
Yeah.
And he's got face tattoos.
Yeah.
So, dude, all you gotta do is...
not have a felony and face tattoos.
All you gotta do is get rid of the face tattoos, really. Because
when you sign up to rent anywhere, even here, you have to submit to a background check.
Yeah.
So if you're a felon, you're not gonna get prime real estate.
Exactly.
Which, speaks volumes for prison reform. Sure, and re-entry, which we should cover one day. Yeah. However, you're a felon. You did felonious things.
Dude,
and then while you were in prison for those felonious things, you said, you know what would be a good idea?
Let me go move in with Karen.
No, not even that. Let me put ink on my face, which is the epitome of you fucked up. Aaron Carter, looking at you. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. He did. Face tattoo, the epitome of bad decision making.
Yeah.
Like societally, I don't think there's anything more mocked than the face tattoo.
Dude,
except
you're
liberalism.
A felon. You gotta live with the stereotype.
Now that being said, again, your felonious record following you forever, effectively rendering you useless to society.
I don't agree with that.
I don't, and I have a cousin. He's locked up. He's been locked up since he's 15. Mm-hmm. All he knows is prison. He has face tattoos. The whole nine. He is that individual. And because when he gets out, he's on probation. He can't leave the area where the toxic people who helped him get thrown in prison live. I could go on about the prison system, and I would really like it if you gave me something like this one week instead of this motherfucker. There's absolutely many things we could do to help those who fuck up and get thrown in prison. Mm-hmm. Because if you get thrown in prison, it's a life sentence. Now, you may get out of jail in 5 years, but it's a life sentence. Mm-hmm. And I would love to continue on that, but I won't hijack the show because I have very strong feelings about it. But as it stands, this is the society we live in. You are a felon. You are screwed. There's nothing you can do. Take the fact that you have to live with other felons and don't let your small child near Creepy Gary. That's all you can do. That's all any of us can do. We are all bound by certain rules. If you get a felony, you're bound by more rules than I am. Sucks to suck, that's the way it works. If I catch a felony tomorrow, I'll be your new neighbor. We all make choices. Mm-hmm. Those choices have consequences. Now, whether those consequences are just or not will never be definitively worked out. Yeah. However, you committed a felony. What did you expect?
Just society is merciful. The Mercy and Re-Entry Act ends federal discrimination of extending public benefits to people who were formally convicted of a crime and duly paid their debt to society.
Okay, so I looked
ties back into that.
I looked at the bill.
Okay.
It doesn't say duly paid their debt, which I have an issue with.
Okay.
But secondly, let's say someone goes in for the felony of welfare fraud.
Who cares?
If we're going to let them out and say once they've served their sentence,
it's welfare fraud. Who cares?
And they commit welfare fraud again.
Okay, that's a second strike. That's different. But however, in the grand scheme of things, I really don't have as big of a problem with some douchebag committing welfare fraud when the government spends $1 billion a day in Iraq.
That's very true.
I just have a hard time being mad at that guy.
I'm just not...
And if he commits it again and he's just stupid enough to get caught again, let the prison system handle it. But my point is, welfare fraud. Our entire political system is a bunch of people living on welfare. Every politician is paid by our tax dollars. Every stupid bill they pass is paid for by us. And you want me to get mad that this dude is smoking pot on his couch on the government's money? How is at least he's minding his own business. Meanwhile, every politician I know is trying to put more rules on me. I would rather him commit welfare fraud than them keep doing their jobs.
Personally, I'm an advocate of welfare of major welfare reform.
You know that's
anyway.
that's Yang's whole thing. He wants to close down all the welfare programs and just give everyone $1,000 a month. That's his whole thing. Shut down every welfare program, but you get a UBI. That's his whole thing. Yeah, you see how that makes a lot of sense? That's why I don't have anything against Yang. He actually seems very intelligent.
Yeah, I can see that working, at least in the short term. I don't know about the long-term consequences, though.
Does anyone know the long-term consequences?
The issue would be... I think a long-term issue would be, like, lack of productivity. But we're already hitting the point where...
Absolutely, but $1,000 a month?
As an all-time low.
$1,000 a month. You can't live on that. And if you can, what kind of life are you living?
Yeah, that's fair.
That's my point.
That's fair.
I personally, $1,000 a month extra would be great. My creditors would love it. But I'm gonna work because while that $1,000 a month is nice, I want a Porsche.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing is some people may be content to live on $1,000 a month. Ask yourself, were those people ever gonna be productive members of society?
Probably not. No.
Therein lies my point. So, liquidate all the welfare. Go with the Yang. Give everyone $1,000 a month. And let the riffraff sort itself out. They will be forced to live in certain areas of town. And I don't see the problem.
Poverty is one of the leading causes of recidivism, and the only way that we can successfully reintegrate people into society is by making sure that the social safety net can apply to them too.
No opinion.
I disagree.
It's hard to get a job when you just get out of the pin.
Honestly, we need more.
I'm all for prison reform.
We need some kind of transitional program, both for the military and prison.
Sure.
To get
There's no difference between the two,
Yeah, there isn't. You live in a society where your basically every aspect of your life is dictated by someone else.
Ain't that the truth?
So we need some sort
Prisoners have better rights. They get TV.
We need some sort of government transitional program.
Sure.
To get people from the military and prison back into normal society.
Personally, I think we should throw them all together in a house and make a TV show out of it.
Why not?
Peak capitalism.
Literally, why not? Just have pick 5 random
prisoners and military people.
Throw them together in Big Brother style house, and
I'd watch that.
Yeah, I would watch that too.
You've watched worse. You have. I haven't.
Have I watched worse?
Yes. You watch network television.
I don't.
You do.
I watch your Hulu and your Netflix.
Do you watch network television?
No.
On Hulu and Netflix?
No, I watch old reruns of Futurama.
No, you don't. You know what I'm talking about. You watch network TV. You watch singing competitions.
That's one.
That's one more than me.
One TV show.
One more than me.
And your wife got me into it.
So
your wife watches network television.
My wife works 70 hours a week. She can do whatever the hell she wants.
Fair enough. All right. I concede.
She can watch whatever trash she wants. She's earned it.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, God. We're not done yet?
I think this might be the last one.
Oh, thank God.
We're 3:25 in.
And yet an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, huh. Hit me with it. I'm out of beer.
It's called the Embrace Act.
This sounds rapey.
Queremos una sociedad más todo aquel que tenga documento o no tenga documento.
Hold on.
Okay, am I drunk or is he speaking another language?
He's speaking another language.
Okay, thank God. Okay.
We want a fair society for all.
Justa para todo.
To everyone that has documentation or not.
Fuck you.
In my case, I have too little space. I'm looking for bigger space. But my income is way lower than...
You want to know what would increase his income and not take up much space? Documents!
The Embrace Act.
Documents don't take up a lot of space.
I know, right?
Can we proceed here, though? Hold on, I was going somewhere with this. Let me just gather my drunken thoughts. At least Beto and Cory Booker spoke their own Spanish. Miss Cortez. I'm just saying, Beto at least knew enough to answer a question in Spanish, but she has this guy doing her Spanish speaking. Mm-hmm. And I don't have enough space. You want to know what would increase his income greatly, doesn't take up a lot of space, and would increase his opportunities? Proper documentation.
Which leads us into the issue of immigration reform.
Needs to be done.
Yeah, I agree.
However, if you're here against the law, and if we find out who you are, you're suddenly being charged with something, you're not living your best life.
No, you're not.
Now, don't get me wrong, you're not going to be doing much better in Mexico. However,
Very
you
true.
don't have rights. I feel like the part of doing something illegal is understanding that you're doing something illegal. And the problem I have here is I personally, you're going to do...
And I realize...
You're going to do illegal shit. Everyone does something illegal. For me, it's speed in a car. For others, it's crossing a border.
Yeah.
However, when you do your illegal shit, it's under the understanding that if you get caught, in some way, shape, or form, you are going to pay.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do something wrong, like if I get pulled over hypothetically going 95 in a 60, to act upset that I'm being punished for doing something I knew was illegal to start with is kind of a dick move.
Or demanding that it's, say...
Or demand that society change to fix my illegal activities.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't care if you do illegal shit. People doing illegal things makes great TV. I love police chases. But if you're going to do something illegal, you cannot claim to have the moral high ground. Mm-hmm. You can either do illegal shit, which is fine. I don't care. But if you get caught, you get caught. Or you can have the moral high ground. But you can't sit there and be like, I'm an illegal immigrant, but I have the moral high ground. No, you don't, buddy. If I get pulled over, I get raped by the courts. And if you get pulled over, you get raped by ICE. Either way, you do illegal shit, you pay the price.
I think what nobody really acknowledges at the end of the day, in terms of the immigration debate, is we're never really going to be able to stop illegal immigration.
Yes, we can.
However... Not to 100%.
Sure we can.
Not that anyone's going to judge us for.
There you go. We could
fine.
completely stop illegal immigration. I have 2 words for you that would completely stop illegal immigration if applied properly. Do you know what those 2 words? No. Predator drone. Let me put it this way. If you thought that the minute you stepped onto shore, a fucking missile would end you, you'd think twice. We have enough drones. Stop using them in the Middle East. Put them on the border. You only need to do it like 10 or 20 times.
And they'll get the message, yeah.
Pretty much. But the point is, we don't have the fortitude because as a country, I do feel we have the moral high ground. We don't do shit that we could clearly do because it's not right. And that's what makes America great, in my opinion. We have enough military technology to take out an illegal immigrant from Colorado if we wanted to. But we don't. And that, I think, is what makes America America. We have the capability... Like, let's put it this, if Hitler had a third of the technology we had, there would be no Israel. There would be no Jewish people. There might not be a Russia. We have the capability to eliminate the entire planet because we're in a bad mood, and we still choose to do the moral thing most of the time. Mm-hmm. We have an amount of power that is unprecedented throughout human history.
Oh, yeah.
And yet we don't even use it to protect our own border.
Mm-hmm.
That in and of itself is what makes our country one of the best, is because even though we have the capability to literally end the world at the flip of a switch, we choose to let these people speak their piece. In my opinion, that is America. Because we very easily could stop Dora the Explorer, Juan, and her whole family with a Predator missile. But why don't we? Why do we not use F-22s, Apache helicopters, and drones to gun these people down the second they cross the border, like they do in China? If you're a North Korean sneaking into China, good luck. They will shoot you without a second thought. We don't do that. We don't. It is in our best interest to do it. Statistically, it would make sense if we did it, but we don't. That is what makes America the best country in the world, is we have the capability to do all sorts of shit to just about anyone we want to, but we don't. We have the capability to conquer half of this planet without thinking twice, but we don't. We have this principle of democracy that was formed when our country was born by George Washington and the Founding Fathers that even though we're not doing a great job at it, we've stuck to, fundamentally for the most part. Mm-hmm. Because if we didn't, we would literally be Europe, gone. Most of Russia, gone. Africa, colonized. South America, no. But we don't. That right there shows a level of restraint by generations of Americans tied to a fundamental that makes our country the best in the world. Now, yeah, there are countries that are richer. Yeah, there are countries that are freer. But nobody has power like we do that is so restrained. Nobody. Not Russia, not China. They have their power. They fucking use it. We have this military power. We have this ability to do whatever we want. And most of the world, if they declared war on us simultaneously, could not stop us. And we don't use it. That's what makes us great. That's just my opinion.
I'm waiting for the waving flag to go away.
That's how I feel. I don't agree with our political system. I don't agree with a lot of people, but that's how I feel about our country. We could fuck all of you up, but we don't. That's unprecedented in human history. In human history, if you have the means, you do. But yet we don't. I don't think enough people think that way.
All right, let's hear about AOC's Embrace Act.
Also ends this type of federal public benefits discrimination based on one's immigration status. A just society embraces our immigrants.
A just society, yes, embraces those who legally immigrate.
Sure, why not?
I don't want to offer welfare to the 70 plus million illegal immigrants that come here.
That they do. Who's morally right? Exactly. Nobody's ever going to solve these questions.
Couching this as a moral issue is why it's such a hot button issue.
But moral issues are what the current political system thrives on. Because nobody ever wins a moral argument. Mm-hmm. Or a religious one. Nobody's ever going to be like, you know what, you're right, I changed my views. Mm. At least I've seen it like twice in my life. Both in person, never online. That's why people make moral arguments. Because either way, each side believes it holds the moral high ground.
Oh. By the way.
Oh, God. What now? Uplift Our Workers Act.
No. It's the B-roll I'm focusing on.
B-roll?
B-roll. The people.
Oh. I mean, they look like people. What about them?
They're Indian.
Like...
It's B-roll from a factory in India.
Hold on. When you say Indian, you mean Indian.
Yeah.
Not Native American Indian. Okay, why does that matter to anything?
Because she's going to go into how we should treat our workers.
I mean,
American.
Anyone who's worked an hourly job knows we all get treated like shit, but I feel like that's part of growing up.
What a just society looks like to me is safe, healthy, affordable housing.
We've already talked about housing. Get off it.
Next.
Everyone.
We've already talked about food, too. Next.
Right.
Money to take care of our families.
Savings.
Not really an option for poor people, but you know this.
And a good education for our children.
Education is worthless so far in my experience.
Yeah.
I have a college degree. So far, no dice. So do you.
A just society affirms workers' rights.
Okay, AOC, you just said a just society affirms workers' rights. What the hell did that have to do with workers' rights?
Actually, we can tie that back to something we've talked about already. Workers' rights and the union. Oh, yeah. Bringing out the big guns.
That's a can of worms that's going to take at least a full episode.
And I'm all for it because I actually, weirdly enough, the reason I was talking about some of the things I was talking about in the news section was because I was reading about unions last night, wondering how much they helped versus how much they hurt. And I read this great article about a company that some of you may have heard of called Packard and how the unions screwed those guys. And about how the UAW, the United Auto Workers, which are now on strike with GM, came to be through brute force and general coercion. Workers' rights, unions. But yet unions are declining. Are workers' rights declining? Again, I really do think we could do an episode on that because the history of unions now, workers' rights, this strike that's going on, we could work with that. And
if anything happens next week, let's see.
If nothing happens next week, we'll cover it.
Yeah.
If anything, but I just feel like at some point Trump's going to do something.
Like the reason we covered this was because it came out the day after impeachment, and it's AOC, and we haven't really done an episode of focusing on AOC. We've mentioned her in passing.
Well, we're not focusing on AOC because I don't feel like we've had an appropriate amount of discussion about her cleavage. It's important.
It's really not. You can't even see it in the video.
Look it up. I know this is like throwing water on a potassium fire, but look it up.
We've decided to
She's actually very well put together.
Worker-friendly score,
Not as well put together as Ben Shapiro's sister, but
we've
still.
decided earns workers' rights. That's why in our Uplift Our Workers Act, we've decided to create a worker-friendly score similar to LEED certification for all federal contractors.
That's just unions with extra steps.
Yeah.
Anyway,
hold on.
Look up the AOC thing.
To prefer doing business with worker-friendly contractors, and this includes considerations like worker cooperatives, union memberships, and pro-worker policies like paid family leave, a living wage, healthcare, and more.
So wait, we're just gonna unionize the unions?
Hold on.
I think.
Bear with me here. I see like a dystopian thing coming. So what happens? What happens if you unionize a union?
We get President Disney, Fox. We get President Disney.
Okay. No, hold on. I need to think of the logistics of this. How do you unionize a union? Just bear with me here.
I don't know, but apparently that's what AOC is proposing, I guess.
It sounds to me like she's proposing unions.
Yeah, like either she's proposing unions or she's proposing unions for the unions.
Which would be interesting, logistically speaking.
Yeah.
Because what happens if the union's union goes on strike?
Yeah.
I gotta know.
Like,
what, Hollywood, stay with us here. We've got like 10 show ideas. Anyway, look up that picture I told you about.
Alright.
I have a point here. I have 2 points.
I'll do it on stream so people can see it.
Do it.
What's the picture?
I feel like you know what you should Google. You see what I'm talking about? You need look no further to understand the mindset of straight men. In a world of A cups, AOC cups.
I hope you're enjoying people watching this stream.
I don't care about their feelings. I personally hope they enjoy the screen full of AOC titty that we have thrown up there. Because I think it's worth seeing, because it gives her a very persuasive argument, and the fact that I would pretend to listen for 5 minutes. But I'm married, so I can't pretend to listen for 5 minutes. Because, faith to one's spouse is more important than a ample and succulent pair.
Fair enough.
But, that being said, as a married man, I can comment on, not bad.
Alright, let's see what her final point is. We're almost done.
I want to see her final 2 points. Hey-o!
Para mí, una sociedad justa es tener salario justo, tener...
She's trying to speak to me, I know it.
For me, a just society is having a fair salary, having climate, air, and environment that is healthy.
Medio ambiente saludable.
Finally, a just society is a participatory member in our global community. That's why our final piece of legislation is a resolution that directs the Senate to finally ratify the UN Covenant on economic, social, and cultural rights. Already, 170 international parties have signed on to the covenant, which guarantees a modern set of human rights that includes housing, healthcare, and education, as well as the right to form a trade union and modern-day dignified work conditions.
Hold on.
All right. So, I've seen a list of countries that have ratified this.
I'm sure they're
This
all
charter.
doing great. Health and quality of life. I can go downstairs right now,
Subjective.
right?
Entirely subjective.
Turn on my faucet, fill a glass with water, and drink it, and 9 out of 10 chance it won't kill me.
Mm-hmm.
Where she came from, not the case.
In New York?
Yeah. I was talking about the lady talking. Who
Oh, yeah.
came here from Mexico, but possibly New York. I can also, get on my toilet without a gator coming up through it. However, she can currently go to a faucet, turn on water, drink it, and not get cholera.
Yeah.
But yet continues to tell us how we should run our country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't discourage someone like her from being politically active, but what I would like to know is why she's not pushing for those things in Mexico.
That's a very good question.
Or Guatemala, Salvador. They don't just, actually, a large majority of them come from Mexico. So,
Speaking of Guatemala and Salvador, Guatemala has ratified this UN covenant that she's talking about.
but who gives a shit about the UN? We are the UN.
So has Iran, Mexico.
Saudi Arabia? Please tell me Saudi Arabia.
I think Saudi Arabia might be on the list.
Oh, please let it be on the list. That'd make me happy for a variety of reasons.
But really,
But we are the UN. Let me put it this way. What the fuck are they gonna do? Scold us?
Yeah, apparently.
We're holding up half of these countries. Who gives a shit with the UN things? Tell you what, pay your dues, like Trump was pushing for. The one thing I did support him for. If you're gonna be in NATO or the UN or whatever the fuck, pay your percentage.
Pay your dues.
Which many European countries had a problem with.
Of course they did.
And as someone who loves the country of Germany, looking at you, you fucking bastards. You make enough money off of me alone to pay your percentage. Yeah. Half of the people telling us how to run our country don't know how to run theirs. And the ones who do, who's going to preach to us about human rights? Saudi Arabia? Iran?
China's on there.
China?
Fucking China.
China? I could have a daughter today and it wouldn't be devastating to my family. I'm sorry, no. That's why I don't take the UN seriously. They're trying to preach to me from a position of power that's built on irony.
Alright, we got 20 seconds left. Let's see what she does.
Please don't.
In a modern, moral, and wealthy society, no person should be too poor to live. That's what a just society means to me.
Correct. That's
Sure.
what a just society means to you.
But you know what? That sounds great. It sounds great, which is the point.
It sounds great.
But that's because it has no substance.
Yeah,
no person
exactly.
shouldn't be able to afford to live. Where? Because on my current paycheck, I could live in fucking Kenya like a king. So,
And I can't wait to hear what a just
theoretically,
society
we could all
means
afford to live. Just not here. She didn't say where, though.
Fair enough.
And this is why people don't like me. People can afford to live. You could probably live like a king on your current salary somewhere awful.
Mm-hmm.
But living like a king somewhere awful probably isn't on par with living like a piece of shit here in the U.S., which is why I'm happy to be a piece of shit in the U.S. I may not be rich, but my drinking water's safe. And
Apparently, there's people watching us.
who the fuck is watching us?
I don't know. Hello, John Rice.
I feel violated.
I'm new to this whole live streaming thing, so I don't know how to put the chat window up on, like, the corner of my PC.
Someone's actually listening?
Yes!
That poor bastard. I didn't think anybody listened to us. What do we do?
John Rice said you admitted you did speed, JK.
I mean, I probably... At this point, I spend so much on energy drinks. Switching to speed might be cost effective. Realistically. Who the fuck watches us? Is this what it feels like to be followed? I don't like it. Okay, so we've covered things. Honestly, I've had like a gallon of beer. I don't remember what we've covered. I'm pretty
We've covered
gone.
quite a bit.
I'm pretty gone.
I think we've effectively responded to AOC's.
Can we not do that again?
Hey, it's not my fault you chose to drink every time she spoke on screen.
Not my wisest choice.
No.
Not my dumbest choice, but not my wisest choice.
Fair enough. Alright.
Alright.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed this episode of the Academic Alehouse.
Oh, man.
I have been your
up.
host, Clayton. I have been joined by my demon and torturer and co-host, Ryan.
Hey!
We will be doing this permanently, I guess, since...
God help us all.
I mean, the people seem to like it.
You mean John likes it?
I mean, hey, there was another person. Hold on.
Woo, we're up to 2 now. Fuck yeah.
Kaizen Approach.
How to deal with fame. I'm Googling it right now.
Just remember, morons love you.
Yes, they do. I'm the Al Bundy of 2000-something.
Alright. Y'all have a good night.
See you later. Oh, God.